story leading to this week's Week in Review Bayou Time. On Friday, Houma police arrest an Ellender football coach for having alleged sexual contact with a student.
Yesterday, the Houma Police Department obtained information regarding the possible inappropriate relationship with a 15-year-old female Ellender High School student and their head football coach. Through further investigation today, detectives with the Houma Police Department arrested Mr. Timothy Betts Sr., 33-year-old male, who is the head football coach of Ellender High School, for one count of sexual battery and one count indecent behavior with a juvenile. Mr. Betts was transported to the Terrebonne Parish Criminal Justice Complex, where he awaits bail in the amount of $100,000.
Coming up next, we take you to this week's Week in Review Bayou Time.
On the Week in Review, you'll see my interview with several players in the minority judgeship, namely the NAACP leader, State Representative Gordy Dove, Damon Baldone, and others who were either for or against the bill. And certainly in this Week in Review, you'll see our coverage of the actual vote that defeated the minority judgeship proposal that was set forth by State Representative Damon Baldone. It was a fiery week in Baton Rouge. Of course, also on Tuesday night, we had a Secretary of State candidate, Caroline Fayard, on Bayou Time, and Dr. Laura Batto had an interview with her. On Wednesday, we dedicated all of the program to synthetic marijuana. We had Dr. Joni Clayville on, and she explained the dangers of it. She is an emergency room physician at Terrebonne General Medical Center. On Thursday, we had more on the minority judgeship, and also we had recipients of many awards at the SCIA banquet, including the Tillman Esteve Award, the President's Award, and also the guest speaker was Chef John False, world known. Well, we have a lot to talk about. It's all next on the Week in Review.
Deep in the heart of the bayou, we are gathered here tonight. Now it's time for action, 'cause our lives are on the line. Tonight we'll do our very best to break through all the bureaucratic mess. The time has come tonight, 'cause it's Bayou time. Show 'em what Louisiana's all about.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Week in Review. I'm Martin Falson. What a week it was. It all started off on our coverage of a minority judgeship proposed by State Representative Damon Baldone and State Representative Anna Ray, who was not even in the Terrebonne Parish District. This sparked a lot of controversy from at least one state representative, Gordy Dove, who spoke out against that proposal, saying that it was put through too fast by State Representative Baldone. It also sparked comments from the NAACP leader, Jerome Boykin. All of those participated on a special Bayou Time last weekend. We now show you comments that were made, and then we pair them with comments that were made later on in the week during the actual vote, and you be the judge of who actually was telling the truth or not. Do you think a House bill, 582, that actually singles out a minority district is the way to go, or would you feel like Terrebonne had come to the point and it was better if somebody ran the way it is now and could be elected in the black?
I think the minority judgeship to carve out a district is definitely the way to go. You wouldn't have any African Americans on the council if you didn't have districts carved out. You wouldn't have any African Americans on the school board if you didn't have districts carved out. So supporting a minority judgeship clearly is the way to go.
And that's my point. My point is I'm trying to differentiate between, because the perception, I'm trying to get everybody's perception. The perception is there's still a lot of people in this community that think there are several members of the black community, lawyers, who could run for a judgeship no matter where and win. And there are others like yourself that say no, they're not going to be able to win in the 5 districts the way they are, so let's cut out a district and create an opportunity to make that happen. That's where the fairness issue comes in amongst everybody. You think it's fair one way, they think it's fair another way. How are we going to be able to cut through all this?
Well, the key to all of this is diversity. The 32nd Judicial Court needs to be diverse. African American minorities make up over 22% of the population. And we deserve to have someone that look like us or a woman to serve in that position.
I mean, what are you hearing from your position as the NAACP leader? What are you hearing on a daily basis with phone calls? How hot is this subject getting?
It's real hot. Matter of fact, when I went to Baton Rouge and after the committee meeting was over with in Baton Rouge, I had an opportunity to talk to some of the Republicans who voted for the minority judgeship for Terrebonne Parish and asked them about why they voted for it, because I wanted to get their opinion. And they clearly say, we live it in 2011 and it's time for diversity. Of course, doesn't have diversity on it, should. You know, we pay taxes just like everybody else. And you still have some of these judges who are set in their own ways. They want to keep their all-white male club together, and they don't want no one else coming in. And that's the reason why they're fighting. They're not open, they don't have an open mind to say it's time to have diversity.
Let me ask you this. Why was, and I got to ask you this because you and Judge Ellender have a history, a pretty well-known history. Why was the 32nd Judicial District Division C singled out as the one that, if it didn't take place by a certain date, that was the district that was going to be, I guess, the launching pad for it to happen?
Yeah, it wasn't target for Judge Ellender per se. Judge Ellender's seat is the next seat that's available. If it would have been any of the other judges, it would have said any of the other judges. But Judge Ellender, because of age, is not running or can run for re-election.
All right, so
it would make more sense
in fairness to you, it just
to have the next available seat.
That was the pecking order.
That was the next available seat. Okay. Happens to be Judge Ellender's seat. He wasn't saying it out. If it would have been any of the other judges, it would have been their seat.
All right. So let me ask you this. I mean, and I know you've been on the other side of race issues for a long time. Where does this put Terrebonne Parish again? You got, and I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say there's half. Half opposing House Bill 582 and half pushing for it. Is this another division in Terrebonne Parish that may be hard to get over?
Yes, I have no control over that. What I do have control over is to do all that we can to see that Terrebonne Parish have minority seat on the 32nd Judicial Courts. Also, I would say most of your local delegation is in favor of this minority judgeship. I noticed you called the names, but you left out State Representative Joe Harrison. He is for this minority judgeship also, and he's a Republican. Several years ago,
he hadn't confirmed.
Several years ago, it was all a delegation who was in support of this minority judgeship. I didn't know one state representative or senator who was against this minority judgeship, including State Representative Gordon Dove.
Let me ask you, in fairness to Representative Harrison, has he come out publicly yet and said that? Because the last statement he had, he didn't know where he was going on the issue.
Yeah, I talked with the representative, and he clearly said he is for diversity on all courts. So I'm sure State Representative Harrison is going to support this minority judgeship.
When he tells me that, I'll break it, but he has not told me that yet, okay? We now have State Representative Gordy Dove joining us on the set, and in a few short minutes, we're going to have State Representative Damon Baldone on by phone. So, we are trying to be as fair as we can to develop this story. It's a complicated story. It's a story that everybody has an opinion, and seems to me everybody's putting their opinion out right now. So, once again, State Representative Gordy Dove is on the set. Gordy, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
How you doing today, Martin?
Good. All right. House Bill 582. One of your big points of contention, just to get it out right away, was the fact that Representative Baldone did not sign his name on the actual or author of the bill when you said he was very involved in the bill.
Well, yeah, yes, Morton. I mean, first of all, give you the history of 582. Until I started reading what bills were coming up, I didn't know Representative Honore had House Bill 582 concerning the 32nd JDC in Terrebonne Parish. Now, that's some sort of a golden rule in Baton Rouge. First of all, someone else handles it, and it's that controversial and that big of a bill. Usually, the whole delegation is brought in, which I was not brought in. I actually read about it going through the bills that are coming up this session.
Right. Let's get into the heart of the matter about the bill. You have been vehemently opposed to a minority district perform, and what Mr. Bargan was just saying, I told him because he tried to pin me on diversity. It's not diversity that I think people are against, it's a method by which people are disagreeing on. Would you agree that it's the method by which this is happening, or am I wrong on that?
No, Martin, it's definitely the method in the way everything's being derived. But remember this, I believe in three branches of government: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. Normally, bills pertaining to judges go through judiciary. They generally come with the Judicial Council recommendation, and the committee follows it. If they don't have that recommendation, it generally doesn't get out of there. Now, maybe they could cite some bills that did that I'm not aware of, but the 8 years I've been there, that's the way the system runs. Now we've circumvented the Judiciary Committee, because that's what I tried to recommit the bill to send it to Judiciary to make sure that the amendment that was added by House and Government, which doesn't fool with this, the reason it went to House and Government, it had precincts defined in it, so there was some redistricting in there. So what I told the House floor is we should have a dual referral, and that's done. That's done whenever two different committees become experts at things. Like for this bill, you don't want to see it come to my committee, natural resources,
right,
which is an environment, because we don't deal with that day to day in my committee. So without it going to judiciary, it circumvented the system and went to the House floor, and we have an amendment on there. For the life of me, I don't think it'll withstand the Justice Department. I'm not an attorney. I've got opinions from different attorneys, and everyone's very confused at the way that they broke Terrebonne Parish up into 3 districts.
Representative Baldone, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Martin. I appreciate it. Sorry I can't be in the studio. I'm just driving up to Pointe-Shannon. I'm in Berg right now.
Okay, well, good. Let's talk about 582. And what I asked Representative Dove right off the bat, seems to be a point of contention between 582 and who actually authored it and who actually has their name on it. Just for the record, so we can get it straight. Is this your bill?
Yes, this is a bill that I'm sponsoring. However, Representative Honore, is a representative from Baton Rouge, has the bill. This last session was a fiscal session, which means the legislators can only file 5 bills each that are non-fiscal. I had a bill saved for it. However, at the last minute, during the reapportionment session special session we had prior to this session, Terrebonne and Lafourche got cut in half, and so I dedicated my last bill to trying to put Terrebonne and Lafourche back together, which bill will be heard this week in committee.
Okay, let me ask you this. Let's get into the heart of 582. Naturally, State Representative Dove, who's sitting right next to me, had just said publicly that he's against it. 5 sitting judges now from Terrebonne Parish, which we read earlier in the program, are against it. An appellate court judge, Jimmy Gadry, who's written a pretty detailed letter to the senators, is against it. Where does this stand, Damon? Is this a uphill battle? Is this gaining momentum to go the other way, or where do you think this is going to go?
Well, it's still up in the air. It's again, the voice of the people. I was asked to introduce this bill, and there was support from the Terrebonne Parish Council that had a resolution supporting diversity. Terrebonne Parish School Board had a resolution supporting diversity. When the bill was presented in committee, we had about 40 members of our community all in support of the bill, and not one person in opposition to the bill. And that's where people have a right to be heard, is in committee. And I think that's what the committee felt, that you know, these people were very passionate about having this bill passed. There's 40 of them that showed up, and not one person showed up against it. And I think that's one of the reasons it got out of committee, because they felt that the community was behind this. I know the judges have just recently come out with a letter with some concerns, and I know Representative Dove has some concerns as well. But that's the beauty of this democracy. Everybody has their voice.
All right, let me ask you this, in the biggest question I've had to everybody, is suppose this goes through and a Justice Department says, nope, gang, y'all got it all wrong. You can't do it this way. It's redistricting on its face value, and it's wrong. Doesn't that leave Terrebonne Parish without, and you're an attorney, so maybe you're better at answering this, does it leave Terrebonne Parish with 5 sitting judges who don't have a job, and then we have to have 5 judges that are appointed at that point?
No, that's not correct at all.
Okay.
What happened is this does not take effect until it gets justice approval. So, in other words, an election will not take place, and first of all, the election doesn't take place until 2013, effective to 2014, unless there's a death or a resignation earlier than that. But no, it has to get approval by the Justice Department first. So none of this will take effect until Justice gives their stamp of approval on it. So that's not a concern.
When we come back, we have more, including the Bubba Dove Fishing Rodeo. We also have a National Guard picnic and an update from Mayor Tim Mott of Morgan City. And then we count down the rest of the week. Quite an interesting week right here on the Week in Review.